for early warning and swift response to security threats across the state. The Special Advisor to the Governor on Homeland Security, Assistant Comptroller General of Immigration, retired Segun Adegoke, disclosed this during a series of security engagement meetings with stakeholders across the Oyo North, Oyo Central, and Oyo South senatorial districts. During the term, the delegation held meetings with local government chairmen, traditional rulers, community leaders, farmers, Fulani leaders, and other critical stakeholders to encourage intelligence sharing, promote peaceful coexistence, and strengthen community resilience against criminal activities and violent extremism. Addressing participants, ACG Adegoke retired urged residents to remain vigilant and security conscious, stressing the importance of lawful migration, proper documentation, and close collaboration between the community leaders and security agencies in identifying and addressing emerging security threats while respecting the rights and dignity of all residents. He also called on citizens to know their neighbors, avoid spreading rumors and inflammatory messages, and promptly report suspicious movement to the appropriate security agencies.
Justice Farouk Ubunza of the Kebbi State High Court has been reunited with his family after spending about a week in custody of his abductors. His release was confirmed today by a member of his family who said the judge arrived home safely earlier in the day. The family member described the judge's return as a moment of thanksgiving. The family also acknowledged the support they received from the Kebbi State Judiciary, security agencies, friends, and residents throughout the period of the abduction. According to the relative, the prayers, encouragement, and solidarity shown by many people helped the family remain hopeful during the ordeal.
The trial of activist and politician Oluyole has urged defamation charges filed by the Department of State Services (DSS) has been adjourned after a heated exchange between lawyers for both parties disrupted proceedings in court. The confrontation began after Shore's lead counsel, Adeyinka Fusika San, sought an adjournment, saying documents approved by the court on July 27 were only released to him today, leaving him without sufficient time to prepare for the cross-examination of his next witness, a DSS official. Counsel to the DSS, Akinolu Kende SAN, opposed the request, describing it as a delayed tactic and urging the court to foreclose the defense. The submission by Kehinde sparked a war of words between the two senior lawyers, with Olumide Fusika rejecting the allegation and accusing the prosecution of persecution.
The Federal Ministry of Works has begun an assessment of flood-affected sections along the Benin-Shagamu Expressway following recent torrential rainfall that disrupted movement on part of the highway. The Minister of Works, Dave Humey, stated this today while inspecting the affected sections at the Ore corridor in Odigbo, local government area of Ondo State. He said the ministry was proposing targeted engineering interventions at the identified locations to prevent future flooding and improve safety along the highway. Umei, who was represented by the Federal Controller of Works in Ondo State, Engineer Olajide Hussein, said the inspection was to identify flood-prone locations along major road corridors and find possible solutions. He also expressed the ministry's sympathy to commuters and residents affected by the flood.
This broadcast of Newscope comes to you from the Broadcasting Corporation of Oyo State, Ibadan. The Nigerian Union of Pensioners, Oyo State Council, has threatened to embark on an indefinite peaceful protest over the alleged refusal of the management of Lautech, Ogbomoso, and Emmanuel Alain at the University of Education, Oyo, to implement Governor Seyi Makinde's directive on approved pension increases for retirees. The union says the planned action is intended to compel the affected institutions to comply with the governor's directive and safeguard the welfare of pensioners. Our reporter, Folashade Akintola, completes the report.
The Nigerian Union of Pensioners, the Oyo State Council, say it will commence an indefinite peaceful protest from the 18th of August if the management of LAUTECH Ogbomoso and Emmanuel Alayande University of Education Oyo fail to implement the approved pension increment for their retirees. Addressing journalists at the Union Secretariat in Agbarigo, Ibadan, the State Secretary to the Union, Comrade Oluyole, described the institution's alleged refusal to comply with Governor Seyi Makinde's directive as an act of insubordination benefits, including the 33% pension increment, the 2029 consequential adjustments, the 20% pension increment effective January 2024.
Should be joined by all pensioners from ministries, departments, and agencies of government in those areas. An injury to one is an injury to all. As an affiliate of Nigerian Labour Congress, our union will be soliciting for its intervention to declare a 3-day warning strike in Emmanuel Alayande University of Education Oyo and LAUTECH Teaching Hospital Ogbomoso. This is because a worker today is a pensioner tomorrow.
Speaking in support of the Oyo State Council, the Senior Assistant General Secretary to the Nigerian Union of Pensioners, National Headquarters, Comrade Waheed Olejede, commended the federal government for its pensions reforms and intervention aimed at improving the welfare of the retirees. He, however, condemned the alleged refusal of the affected tertiary institution in Oyo State to implement their protects.
$8 billion defined benefits, and of course, of recent 39.4 billion naira as exit benefit for our CPS members. So if the government and the sector is doing that, and the government here in Oyo State is also copying that, who are those management of tertiary institutions not performing so? It's like a woman, and we are disturbed, and that's why we want to give you full support for whatever action you want to take against this institution, so that your right will be given you at the appropriate time.
The union reiterated its commitment to dialogue, but maintained that the planned peaceful protests will go ahead if the affected institution continue to disregard the governor's directives. Folashade Akintola, BCOS News.
The Odua Investments Company Limited has formally inaugurated Dr. Tajuddin Tola Kasali as its new group chairman at the Board of Directors meeting held on Thursday, 30th July 2026, succeeding Otumba Bimbo Ashiru, whose 4-year tenure ended recently. Dr. Tajuddin Tola Kasali, who has served as the director of Odua Investments Company Limited since 2020, is a distinguished medical practitioner and accomplished public administrator with a medical degree from the State Medical Institute, Ukraine. He has served as executive chairman of Ibeju-Lekki local government and as Lagos State Commissioner for Rural Development, Health and Special Duties, while he also championed the establishment of the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency (LASEMA) and the Lagos State Safety Commission. Odua Investments Company Limited, under the stewardship of the immediate past chairman, Otumba Bimbo Ashiru, saw significant implementation of the SWEPT, Revive and Create Strategic Framework SRC 1.0, which strengthened corporate governance, rebalanced the company's investment portfolio, and revitalized legacy assets, including the landmark redevelopment of Premier Hotel Ibadan, while also delivering a record-breaking profits before tax of 23.58 billion naira for the 2025 financial year. The company's credit rating was also upgraded by Augusto & Co. from A+ to AA-. Speaking after his inauguration, the new Odua Group chairman, Dr. Tajuddin Tola Kasali, pledged to build on the solid foundation laid by the previous leadership, especially the implementation of the SRC 2.0 Strategic Framework 2026 to 2030, developed under Otumba Bimbo Ashiru, which targets 30 billion naira in cash-backed profits before tax, 1 trillion naira in total asset, and 50 billion naira in group revenue by 2030.
Christians have been reminded that although people may forget acts of kindness and dwell on offenses, God never forgets the labor of love and the faithfulness of his children. The admonition came from Pastor Peter Ayobamidele during the 20th anniversary celebration of Christ Apostolic Church, God of Solution Assembly, Oluyole Community, Ibadan, themed the Year of Remembrance. Our reporter, Oluyole Akintola, was there to bring the details.
It was a moment of thanksgiving and celebration as ministers of God, church members, invited guests and well-wishers gathered to commemorate 2 decades of God's faithfulness to Christ Apostolic Church, God of Solution Assembly. Preaching the anniversary sermon from Nehemiah chapter 5 verse 19, Pastor Peter Ayobamidele said the theme, the years of remembrance, reflect God's unfailing commitment to reward the good works, sacrifice and faithfulness of his children. He noted that while human beings often remember offense and overlook acts of kindness, God never forgive genuine service, righteousness and steadfast devotions.
With what the psalmist says, that we live in the land of forgetfulness. So there are so many things that we forget here. Particularly when a person is growing old, there are some people that have dementia. They don't remember even their names. So it's a characteristic of humanity. So, but despite that, when they forget your good works, they remember the evil that you have done. And we said God should deliver us from such people and open the book of remembrance so that we can be remembered for good.
Pastor Ayobamidele congratulated church on attaining its 20 years milestone, describing the anniversary as a testimony to God's sustaining grace despite the challenges encountered over the years. He prayed for greater growth, renewed strength, and increased divine favor upon the ministry, its leadership, and members. In separate goodwill messages, clerics and invited guests urged the pastor in charge to remain steadfast in biblical teachings, continue to depend on the guidance of the Holy Spirit, and uphold a lifestyle that reflects Christ's calling.
Both the pastor, both the member of the church and the congregation, the pastor is a good man. Nobody around this environment, which the pastor is so humble.
I want to give him an advice that he should live his life according to Christ's life, and he should not look at anybody in life. So Bible is our guideline.
There should be more fervent in the church. They should come early. Punctuality is the key, and they should ensure that, because their Sunday service is not complete without Sunday school, they should ensure they come for Sunday school service.
You always do well for everybody. Whether you are Muslim, whether you are anywhere, whatever you are, Baba do well for everybody. Concerning the administration, I wish him well.
Reflecting on the church journeys over the past 2 decades, the pastor in charge, Pastor Rufus Salawu, described the anniversary as the celebration of God's unwavering faithfulness. He acknowledged that the ministry has passed through different phases of challenges, but stressed that God's grace are continually sustain and expand the church.
Journey of Christianity, there must be some certain issues, some certain challenge, but we all glory be to God, because God is keeping us moving. And my advice is to the church is to look deep into the scripture, because Bible is the power of all Christianity.
Also speaking, Lady Evangelist Olubisi Salawu thanked God for preserving the ministry over the years. She encouraged women to remain committed to serving God, nurture their children in the fear of their Lord, and build homes founded on godly values. The anniversary celebration featured a special Thanksgiving service, the cutting of the anniversary cake, and prayers for the church, its leadership, members, and the nations, as worshippers celebrated 20 years of God's enduring faithfulness. Oluyole Akintola, BCS News.
On the foreign scene, thousands of residents have been forced to flee their homes after devastating wildfires swept through Spokane in Washington state, destroying at least 600 structures and triggering the evacuation of about 60,000 people as firefighters battle to contain the fast-moving blazes. Foreign desk editor Oluyole Akintola compiled the story and others as presented by Khadija Lawal.
The fires in and around Spokane, the state's second largest city, burned about 21 square kilometers over the weekend and were among dozens of wildfires across the western United States that stretched the ability of federal, state and local agencies to fight them. roughly 1,000 square kilometers, have burned across the state, and some of the fires, including those in the Spokane area, have not been contained. Fire and law enforcement officials said there had been no reports of injuries or people unaccounted for, but they stressed it was early in the response efforts. Videos from the Spokane area showed buildings on fire, black smoke billowing up near neighborhoods, and the smoking ruins of homes with only chimneys still standing. Several officials expressed concern that the area appears set to continue having dry weather in the coming days. Investigators have not determined how the blaze began. Spokane was not the only region struggling to contain fires. Meanwhile, hundreds of Ethiopians from the Tigray region have crossed into neighboring Sudan following fighting between regional forces and the Ethiopian army over the weekend. In one of the most serious confrontations since the end of the civil war in the area 4 years ago, intense clashes broke out on Saturday morning in the Sherarina near the border with Sudan. A member of the Tigray People's Liberation Front (TPLF) said the violence, which continued into Sunday, involved heavy artillery and drones. The 2-year civil war in northern Ethiopia between the TPLF and the federal government, which led to the death of hundreds of thousands of people, ended with an African Union brokered peace deal in 2022. But there are fears there could be a return to full-scale conflict as the deal has not been fully implemented and the TPLF is back in control of Tigray after pushing out the interim administration that was created as part of the resolution of the conflict. There are also concerns that the fighting could become a proxy for the Sudanese civil war, with accusations that the warring parties there are backing opposing sides in Ethiopia. And lastly, Israeli forces killed at least 19 Palestinians in Gaza on Sunday, despite US President Donald Trump announcing what it describes as a major step towards peace and security in the enclave. According to medical sources at Al-Shifa Hospital, among the dead were Abdullah Abu Taif, his pregnant wife Aber Anan, and their 5-year-old son killed in an airstrike in their apartment in Gaza City, while 3 of the Al-Ams family were killed in Khan Yunis, where 2 brothers also died in a separate attack. Other strikes killed Palestinians in Jabalia refugee camp, Al-Mawasi, the Remau neighborhood, and Gaza City, with several more people wounded, making it the deadliest day in weeks, according to Palestinian health officials. On Saturday, an Israeli strike also hit medicine warehouses linked to Al-Aqsa Matthias Hospital in Deir el-Balah, destroying or severely damaging 4 facilities, which Gaza Health Ministry Director General Munir al-Bosch said effectively turned medicine into a weapon of war. A reporter reported that the strike occurred just 15 minutes after an evacuation order, leaving a massive crater damaging tents, sheltering displaced people, and forcing many to flee again. Khadija Lawal, PCOS News.
To end this edition of Newscope, here again are the main points. The Nigerian Army has airlifted 352 military personnel into and out of the Northeast as part of the Chief of Army Staff Welfare Flight Program, designed to support troops serving in the ongoing counter-insurgency campaign under Operation Hadinkai.
As part of efforts to prevent a recurrence of the security breach witnessed in Oluyole local government area, the state government has intensified measures to strengthen intelligence gathering, enhance collaboration among security agencies, and promote community policing to ensure early warning and swift response to security threats across the state.
The trial of activist and politician Oluyole on alleged defamation charges filed by the Department of State Services (DSS) has been adjourned after a heated exchange between lawyers for both parties disrupted proceedings in court.
And on the foreign scene, thousands of residents have been forced to flee their homes after a devastating wildfire swept through Spokane and Washington state, destroying at least 600 structures and triggering the evacuation of about 60,000 people as firefighters battle to contain the fast-moving blazes.
If you see something suspicious, alert the authorities immediately for timely response. Be vigilant. That's all from Newscope Desk for now. It was packaged by Taiwo Adeyemi and delivered by
Belumi Asende. Good evening.
My name is Boluwaji Ogumona. Thanks for listening, and do not forget to tune in for the Yoruba version at 8 p.m. Good evening once again, and thanks for listening.
pọ́n ti sún ó ṣẹ̀dẹ̀ rí bó ṣe wá mọ́lẹ̀ kedere. fẹ́ni tó ti gbọ́ kó sọ fẹ́ni tí ò gbọ́ o. PCOS bàbá wa làgbà adìẹ ẹṣin tó ṣíwájú ó ti gbapò kíní náà. tó bá fẹ́ polówó ọjà kájé bùgbàjẹ́ kàn sí wa ní room 2 tó fi dé room 6 commercial department PCOS ilé akéde. ẹ wúra wọ PCOS ọpọ́n ti sún ó fakọyọ ó tún clear gan. PCOS ọpọ́n ti sún wọ́n ṣe bẹ̀bẹ̀ ó tún mọ́lẹ̀ kedere. àní right now PCOS ọpọ́n ti sún ó fakọyọ ó tún clean gan. nísẹ̀yìn PCOS ọpọ́n ti sún wọ́n ṣe bẹ̀bẹ̀ ó tún mọ́lẹ̀ kedere. gbogbo ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ń gbọ́ tiwa Oluyole 88.5 Agbedotun 92.1 lókè ògùn 96.3 FM gbogbo yín pátá la kí àti ẹ̀yin tẹ́ fẹ́ bá wa dòwò pọ̀ oṣù ọ̀ ẹ máa rí tajẹ́ ṣe o tí ẹ charity ẹ wòrà wọ̀ yí o. PCOS ọpọ́n ti sùn ó fakọyọ ó tún clean gan. PCOS ọpọ́n ti sùn o wọ́n ṣe bẹ̀bẹ̀ ó tún mọ́lẹ̀ kedere.
ìyá ò lápá wọn ohun lóhun gbogbo tí ń ṣe jọlọ́ọ̀fù ìyá ṣe pàtàkì máa ń fún ní tójú ká ohun dídì tí ìyá tó dùn lára jí pépé àwọn ọbẹ̀ ìyá tó dùn máa ń ṣara ẹbí lóore Golden Terra oil ọ̀làdùn Golden Terra oil ṣara lóore Golden Terra oil fún ìfẹ́ Golden Terra soya oil.
Golden Terra oil ó máa ń ran ìyá lọ́wọ́ láti dá gbogbo ìfẹ́ rẹ̀ sínú oúnjẹ tó dùn ó ṣara lóore ó ṣe fún gbogbo ẹbí rẹ̀ Golden Terra oil for pure love.
báwo la ṣe lè mọ oúnjẹ aṣọ́kò tó wà wọ́n. Ẹgbẹ̀tẹ̀ra. àwọn oúnjẹ aládùn tó fẹ́ràn láti máa ṣe o. Ẹgbẹ̀tẹ̀ra. tó bá fẹ́ ṣe oúnjẹ tó